Hello, everyone. Just double checking everything is working. Right, awesome. I see you are live on Facebook. We are live in the Zoom group. If you want to join Zoom, where you could ask questions, be part of the chat, be on screen, have a conversation. The link is under the events in the community group. I also really like the fact that we're putting it live on Facebook because one, you don't have to go to a link, you don't have to sign up, you don't have to, do the extra steps, and it gets to live forever on our Facebook group. So these calls are designed to give you all information during our 8-week challenge. Every week I'm going to come live, talk about a different topic that's helpful for your health and wellness. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments on Facebook. I will check those toward the end of the call. Or again, if you are in the Zoom, you can also put them in the chat. So today we're going to be talking all about protein. I'm going to share my screen here in a couple minutes. But protein is one of those things that we hear all the time. I mean, it's just part of our daily conversation, part of our just part of our lives. But typically, unless you are paying attention to it, you're probably not getting enough protein to really satisfy your fitness goals. We live in a very processed food centric culture here in America. We don't eat enough fish. We don't eat enough vegetables. We definitely don't eat enough protein in general, just left to our own devices. But once you start paying attention to it, what you start to realize is it's not that hard. I mean, a lot of foods that are high in protein are foods that we like. We just don't know how to prioritize them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Why is protein important? How can you get it in your diet? What happens if you don't get it in your diet? And really, in general, I want to talk about mindset too, that this is not just to look good in a bathing suit in the summertime. The goal of what I do, and hopefully what I help you achieve, is to live a long, healthy life. And the more that I learn, the more that I research, the more that I grow in my knowledge, eating enough protein is almost the investment in your future health. As far as it's like the 401k for your body of retirement. You need to be making those deposits now, building your muscle, keeping your muscle, improving your heart health, improving our mental health, all now. So 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're not in that spot of just getting old, but not living a long, healthy life. We don't want to just get old. We want to be able to live well until our last day. Now, the reality is we're all going to die. I mean, I know that's morbid to think, but it's true. But we don't want to die 10 years before we actually die. And you can see this, I'm sure, in family members or people that you know who they just deteriorate and then they basically like linger on for another decade. Well, what kind of quality of life is that? So what we're doing here today in our daily habits, in our prioritizing what we're eating and how we're moving, is making it so we get to live every day to the fullest till the end. So big picture, I want to remind us that that's what we're here for. It's not just to look good. Yes, does that help? Yes, does it feel nice to get into a pair of pants that fit well? Absolutely. But sometimes even that is not enough. When you're standing at the fridge or your day is stressful and you're going to reach for the extra salt, the extra sugar, the extra alcohol, sometimes you're like, I don't really care if my pants are tight because I'm stressed and I want to eat this right now. However, if you think, do I want to be a burden to my children when I'm 70? Do I want to not be able to walk up the stairs? Do I want to break my hip at 52? No. Maybe that's a little bit more of a motivation to not eat the crap food. Not that we can't have balance of having a sweet treat here or there, but what we don't have typically is balance. What we have is an unbalanced diet, and that's what's gotten us to the point that we are at now, which for a lot of people, statistically saying, is not healthy. Right. So if you fall into that category where you don't have the energy you want to live the life, you don't fit into your pants well, you're not feeling good about how you look and how you feel, let's change that. That's what I am here for. So let's dive right in. I'm going to share my screen. Again, put any questions you have in the comments on Facebook, and I will get to those at the end. But other than that, all right, I'm recording this as well for a replay. Again, you could always watch from the very beginning. I just did about 5 minutes of chatter on the Facebook page. So going to share my screen. Let's hop on here. Dun, dun, dun. Here. All righty, friends. So today we're talking all about protein, why it's important, and what it can do to benefit you. So here we go. Why is protein important? First of all, it's one of the building blocks for all the parts of our body, our hormones, our DNA, our immune system, our hair, our skin, our nails. It's one of the building blocks of how our body is made. So if we are not having enough protein, we're at a detriment. It's almost like not putting oil in your car. Yeah, maybe you're putting gas in because you're putting in carbs, but if you're not putting protein, you're not putting oil, eventually something is going to break. It's a vital macronutrient to our health. So it also determines how we feel today, how we look today, but as I said a couple seconds ago, and also is how we're going to age. One of the things that happens as we age is we're naturally going to lose muscle just by existing, right? So one of our things that we can do is to continue to keep that muscle by eating a proper diet full of protein and exercising and using resistance training to keep the muscle that we have, so that by the time we're 70 or 80, we're not frail. We still have enough muscle to move our body and keep our body safe in the way that we want. It also keeps your body composition in check. The more protein you have typically in your diet, the more lean you're going to be, because it's this ripple effect of you end up eating less crap because you're eating more good stuff. It's fueling your body differently. When you have a certain amount of protein, it puts your body into what's called muscle protein synthesis, which helps you build muscle and keep muscle. So it is vital, again, for so many reasons, and we're going to keep chatting about that. So what are the 4 macronutrients? I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but again, it's always a great review. 4 macronutrients: protein, which we need to build muscle and keep our body healthy; carbs, which are our main source of energy. When your body defaults to when it needs energy, it's going to always go to carbs first. We actually store that energy in our tissue. So when you, like, if you ever think of people who run long races and they have a pasta dinner beforehand, that's them prepping their body for that long endurance. So carbs are our energy. Fats are our secondary source of energy. Your body will use carbs first, then fat, and then protein. And so, but fats also have a little bit more, they have more fuel, right? So protein and carbs are 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. And we also need fat. I know back in the 80s, we had this whole low fat trend that people thought, well, fat must make you fat. No, fat doesn't make you fat. Overeating makes you fat. So we actually need fat for our bodies to function. It's part of our main cells. It keeps everything running smoothly. So don't shy away from fat. Obviously, we don't want to be having, excessive amounts, but it is part of a healthy diet, the good fats, okay? Alcohol is a 4th macronutrient. It has absolutely no function in our body. People say it has social function, right? You go out, you have a drink, you have a good time. However, as far as our body is concerned, it really has no function. It's a toxin that our body, as soon as you start drinking it, has to process out. So sometimes putting that in perspective too makes you think, okay, do I really want that 3rd margarita? Because my body is fighting against this. That's why you end up feeling intoxicated to get back to normal. So just the big picture. Again, I still have wine and go out to the breweries occasionally. But in general, what I'm learning is that is not important. It's not helpful in a lot of ways, especially if you are trying to lose weight. That's one of the easiest ways to cut calories and get your body systems back in check, is to reduce alcohol and sugar, which we will also talk about. Okay. So if you are in the process of losing weight, the process of getting healthy, there's a few ways to do that. You need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. It's basically an energy balance. I know sometimes we will oversimplify calories in, calories out, but we've also talked about that a calorie is not just a calorie. A calorie of a Jolly Rancher is not the same as a calorie of a slice of apple. Yes, mathematically they might be, but the way your body uses that is totally different. So we always want to be choosing, even if we're counting our calories, choosing the best, healthiest option that we can. You have to be in a deficit to watch that scale go down. So one of the things that helps you get to that deficit is protein, because you can get, you feel fuller. It's more satiating, which means once you eat it, you feel more satisfied than, say, a bag of Cheez-Its. You can eat 200 calories of Cheez-Its and still be hungry. If you eat 200 calories of chicken, you're going to feel full, right? It also, protein has a higher thermic effect of food. So that basically means your body needs more calories to burn protein than it does to burn Cheez-Its. So say you eat a bag of Cheez-Its, 200 calories, your body is going to utilize all 200 calories of that, right? For fuel. If you eat 200 calories of chicken, your body's probably going to use about 70% of that, because 30% is what your body's burning just to digest the food. So you're actually, in essence, only taking in, what is it, 140 calories, right? So again, it has a higher thermic effect. So the more protein you eat, the more your body will burn. And so that's always a benefit too. It helps preserve your muscle. So we've all known people who have gone on super low calorie diets. They have lost weight because guess what? They're in a calorie deficit. However, they have also lost muscle. And so their body starts getting to this point where it only wants 1,000 calories because it has no muscle. It doesn't need any more than that. So as soon as you start eating a normal amount of food, you gain that weight back. So we know that. I know people. You know people. They lost 30 pounds. A year later, they gained it back because it's not sustainable because they lost muscle. When you go in too far in a deficit without eating protein, your body takes your muscle, right? It needs fuel. So having protein, having a reasonable deficit, which is usually about 500 calories. So we're not dropping down to 1,000 calories. It's just not healthy or sustainable. Sorry, people who are on those plans. But also maintaining the muscle as we do that means when you get to your goal, yes, you are smaller, yes, you are lighter, but you have more muscle. So your body actually needs more calories to function. So you get to your maintenance and you can still have 1,900 calories, 2,000 calories, because your body is full of muscle that it needs fuel for. If you are trying to gain muscle, you have to be in a calorie surplus. That's a very, not, I won't say uncommon, but most people that I work with are more so looking to get down to the size they want and keep muscle rather than bodybuilders, people who are maybe underweight, who need to build muscle. We would put you in a calorie surplus so that we can make sure that you're building. But a calorie surplus doesn't mean you just get to go eat donuts all the time. We're prioritizing making sure that surplus is good quality, high protein food. All right. High protein benefits, again, muscle recovery, muscle building, helps you maintain that healthy weight, and it curbs your hunger. Well, one of the things that I do with my clients every week is that they do an assessment and there's some questions that they answer. And one is, what's your level of hunger? So if they're like, yeah, I'm feeling hungry, well, then the first thing we say is make sure you're getting to your protein goal. Make sure you're eating your fruits and veggies. Make sure you're drinking enough water. And make sure you're getting fiber, because nobody wants to go through life starving, and you shouldn't have to. One of the things about being in a calorie deficit is, yes, sometimes you're going to have to not eat every single time you're hungry, right? There's a point to where you're like, okay, I might feel a little hungry, but I know I've hit my goals for the day. I'm not starving, so I'm just going to stay with where I'm at, drink some water, maybe have a piece of fruit, and call it good. What we don't want is for people to be like starving all the time. That's not a quality of life. And so this protein, fiber, fruits and vegetables help you feel satisfied while you're getting to your goal. Okay. What happens if you don't eat enough protein, which is what we see a lot of times in our general population? People feel weak, they're tired, they have no muscle. I mean, think about, I think of even my grandma, which, she was toward the end of her life, she just had like skin, right? There just wasn't a whole lot of muscle underneath that. So yeah, you might be skinny, you might be little, but are you skinny fat in the sense of how is your internal, how is your, they call it skeletal muscle, which is what is the muscle that surrounds your spine and your organs. You need muscle, okay? Not just to have a bicep, to be able to function. So not eating enough protein is going to make it so you have less muscle as you age, and it's going to cause ripple effects, right? Hair, skin, and nails. If your hair is super thin, if your nails are brittle, if your skin is doesn't feel as supple as it should, that could be an element of not getting enough protein. Greater risk of falls and greater risks of fractures, because again, that muscle is what it controls your bones, right? Your bones are what gives us shape. Our muscles are what gives us movement. So muscle is important. Protein is important to keep those muscles. It can lead to crankiness. It can lead to poor immune function, being sick. It can also lead to fatty liver. So As we can see, protein is extremely important, but not all protein is created equal. Sometimes you're like, well, I had some peanut butter today. Isn't that some protein? Well, peanut butter has protein in it, but peanut butter is more leaning toward the fat category than it is toward the protein. So let's talk about what are the types of proteins and why this is important. So a complete protein is a protein that has all 9 amino acids. So that's just the chemical makeup of what is inside the protein. Animal sources typically have all 9. So if you have an egg, if you have a chicken breast, if you have a piece of beef, it's going to have all 9. That means it's complete. Your body can use it right away to synthesize, build muscle, keep muscle, and all the things that we talked about. Plant options typically do not have all 9. They have some, but they don't have all. So if you are someone who's like, I don't love meat, I don't really want to eat meat all the time, plant options are not bad, but we have to make sure that we're combining them in certain ways that helps your body utilize them. So for example, rice and beans are 2 things that when you put them together, they have all the amino acids. And if this is something that is important to you, reach out to me. I can send you a list of some good combinations. But in general, we want to make sure that we're making those good because again, especially if you are not eating meat, you want to make sure that you're getting enough protein. There's also, I'll put a plug here too, protein supplements, make sure that those are also complete. So like our level 1, our formula 1 with first form are complete. Also, our vegan protein is a complete protein. It combines rice and pea protein, and so it is a complete protein. So if you're someone who's not eating meat, that's a really good, easy way to get it in it, okay? We want to be, when you start tracking your macros, you start getting healthy, you have a protein goal, which in general, even if you're not, you want your protein grams to be about 1 gram per pound of your goal weight. So if your goal is to weigh 150 pounds, you want to make sure that you're getting 150 grams of protein a day. Typically, for the people that start tracking, I see them come in usually at 70 or 80, just by not paying attention. So once we start paying attention, which we're going to talk about how to add in foods that are going to help you get to that goal pretty easy, you want to make sure that you're hitting that number. And you want to make sure that you're hitting that number first. So sometimes people be like, well, I used up all my calories and I didn't hit my protein. Well, then you're using your calories out of order. We want to make sure that we're putting in our protein first. Think about it as your plate. On my plate, I'm going to put my chicken first. Then I'm going to put my vegetable, then I'm going to put my rice, right? When I track that, I know that I'm going to hit my protein because I put prioritize my protein on that plate. We want to make sure we're getting most of our protein from whole food. Again, it's healthy, it has vitamins, it's more digestible, it's just good variety for our body. And then supplementing, which is why it's called a supplement, you add in that protein powder, you add in that collagen, you add in the protein bar here or there to then make up the gap. Sometimes people get super busy. They're like, look, I can only have 2 protein shakes a day. And then I can have a real good dinner and I can have, a Greek yogurt here or there. No more than 50% of your protein should be coming from a supplement, just because we really want to prioritize whole foods for the previously mentioned reasons. Complete proteins, chicken, beef, turkey, eggs, protein supplements. I'm going to show you some lists here real quick. So 3 top tips. If you're like, wow, I don't know how to get my protein. I know I'm not eating enough. Typically, here's a few ways to get it in there. 1, know your goal. Again, your goal of protein grams should be your goal weight. That just makes sure that you are having enough protein to get to your weight, but then also that's the amount of protein that's going to help you maintain that weight. It's okay to go over. Sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, well, I went over my protein. That's totally okay. There is no upper limit to protein. It's not detrimental unless, you're at the point where all you're eating is protein and you're not having any fruits, vegetables, or any carbs. At that point, be like, okay, let's dial it back. But if you're like, I went over by 30 grams, not a problem. I went over by 10, 15, 25. It's not an issue. Your body's just going to utilize it. So don't worry so much about going over. We want to worry about you going under. So couple ways to do that is protein focus. I always say, look at your day. This takes 3 minutes to do and think, okay, what am I going to have for breakfast that has protein? All right, I'm going to have some egg whites. I'm going to have some toast. What am I going to have for a snack? I'm going to have some Greek yogurt and some granola. What am I going to have for lunch? I'm going to have a lunch meat sandwich with I would say double portion of turkey, and I'm going to have, some carrot sticks. Okay, what are you going to have for your sex now? Well, I'm going to have a protein bar because it tastes like a chocolate bar, and in the afternoon that satisfies me. What are you going to have for dinner? Baked fish and rice and vegetables. We're going to put our protein in first, If you are tracking your food, I always recommend pre-track it just to see, because you might be like, okay, well, I actually have some extra calories, so I'm going to end up having, you know, a banana with my yogurt too. It gives you the full picture of your day. It gives you a plan. Now, you might have to adjust that plan later, but at least you know you will hit your numbers. You will not be hungry. I'm telling you, if you hit your protein numbers, you're probably not going to be hungry because it is so satisfying. Again, if you are feeling hungry, if you're tracking, make sure you're drinking enough water first. Make sure you're adding fruits and vegetables with that protein, and then always we can add an extra fiber. Know your favorites. This is not like, oh, I have to eat chicken every single day for the rest of my life. No, unless you're doing a bodybuilding competition, you should be able to eat enough variety and enough of the foods that you like to hit your goal, because there's so many different options. Yes, there's some that are easier. There's some that are higher, like tuna. Tuna is a great one. People are like, look, I don't want to eat tuna. I think tuna is delicious personally. Not everyone does. But if you don't like to eat tuna, you don't have to eat tuna. So know your favorites. Stock up your home with those foods. Now, if you are, it's 3 o'clock, you're starving, and you open your fridge and the only thing in there are brownies, what are you going to eat? You're going to eat a brownie. Whereas if you open up your fridge and you're like, I have cottage cheese, I have Greek yogurt, I have some, you know, cheese cut up that I can eat with an apple. You have options right there. So thinking ahead, when you do your grocery order, buy some of these favorite foods that fuel you to have on hand. Most of the time, eating healthy does not have to be more expensive if you're eating simply. If you're like last night, we had roasted potatoes, roasted chicken, and frozen carrots. I mean, that meal probably costs to feed our whole family with leftovers $12. I mean, it's not that expensive if you're getting simple. So stock your home, have your go-tos. Know what are the things that I like that I can reach to, especially when life gets busy. I know if I'm like, you know, in the zone, I'm doing stuff, I don't have time. I know easy lunch for me is just a sandwich. It doesn't have to be a full meal. It doesn't have to be a meal prep. Get super simple, okay? I would say get boring, but with variety. So one of the examples I use often is breakfast. I pretty much eat breakfast, the same breakfast every day in some form, which is eggs and a carb, right? So I can have egg whites and toast. I can have egg whites and peppers in a low carb tortilla. I can have dippy eggs with an English muffin, eggs and a carb, because one, I know that I love eggs. They're satisfying. They help me hit my protein. I'm also having collagen coffee every morning. So that's going to butt me up another 15 grams. And I like it. I like those foods. And so it doesn't get boring because I have enough variety, but it keeps me on track because I have enough simplicity. Okay. And again, if you ever are like, I just don't know what to eat, I need some ideas, I have meal plans I could share. I could send you lists of foods, lists. So any kind of food you need, I can send you some options. All right. Again, here's some examples of the different amount of proteins within plant or animal. You know, if you are not a meat eater, here's some good options for you, but we just want to make sure that we're balancing. You know, I will share all these slides in the Facebook group too, so that you have them as a resource, because there's some things on here that, I mean, you're not going to remember this slide. But here's an example of how different foods have different amounts of protein. One of the thresholds we like to aim for is 24 grams of protein with your meal. Now, sometimes a snack is not going to be that much. If you have like a Greek yogurt, it might be 15, unless you're going to have 2 of them. So you might not hit that number with that. But 24 grams in your meals, 24 is that magic number that then it turns the switch on in your body for what's called muscle protein synthesis, which helps you build muscle, keep muscle. So sprinkling protein throughout the day is not bad, but if you can get it into at least 24 grams, which is why I have collagen coffee with my eggs, because just eggs and toast is not enough. It's only about 14, maybe 16, 18 grams of protein. When I add my collagen coffee, all of a sudden I'm in the 30s. So here's just an example of how different foods have more protein. And you can see here, I used the example earlier, like peanuts. Peanuts have some protein, but they have about a fourth of chicken or tuna. And so it's not a bad option, but you want to be prioritizing those higher ones. It just makes it easier to hit your goal. All right, common meals and snacks ideas. Again, I will share all these slides, But, simple, hard-boiled eggs, cubed chicken, make yourself a little protein box like you would buy at Starbucks. Think ahead. If you are traveling, if you're working, if you have a busy day, one of my clients I talked to, she's like, oh, I just don't want to cook all the time. You don't have to cook all the time. Batch some chicken, batch some ground beef, make some rice ahead, and then you can have like taco bowls or chicken wraps for the whole week. Now, again, some variety would probably help that not get boring, but you can make ahead, especially the main protein source, make ahead and make it easier. Meal ideas, again, taco salads, teriyaki chicken, like so many different varieties. You can have Mexican, you can have Asian, you can have Italian. It doesn't have to be just chicken and rice, okay? All right, I've shared this last week. This is typically what I eat in a day. Kind of already gone over that a little bit. How to make it easy. Know your numbers, pre-plan your day. In our First Form app, if you're using that to track, you can save your meal. So for example, my eggs and toast, I have it saved. So every morning I just click and it's tracked. I don't have to redo it. We also have a copy and paste where I can say like, what I had yesterday, copy paste. So it does make it easier to stay on track. And one of the benefits of tracking is it's just data. It shows you if you are actually eating the foods that's going to fuel you. Because a lot of times people think, oh, well, I eat clean. I don't eat junk food all the time. That's good. That's a great start. But is what you're actually eating fueling your body to get you to your goals? Because if you think about your body as a report card of all the assignments, all the tasks, all the studying that you've done prior. So if you're not totally happy with where you're at, we have to change the habits that got you there. Okay. The data and tracking definitely helps that. So what about eating out? This is an add-on real quick, but yes, you still want to be trying to hit your protein goal when you're eating out. So in general, when you're about to eat out, you want to think, how have my habits been today? Have I got my walk in? Did I get my workout in? Am I on track with all my other habits? How thirsty am I? Make sure you're staying hydrated before you eat out. How hungry are you? Looking ahead at different menu options. Choose the best option possible. Sometimes you might go to a restaurant that you can look ahead at the menu and go like, okay, here's a grilled salad, grilled chicken salad that looks delicious. It's going to fit my macros. That's what I'm going to get. You might be like, I don't know, in an airport or in a small restaurant that they don't have their macros. Think about what is your best healthy option, which lean protein, vegetables, fiber. Anything that has made up of that, you'd be like, okay, this is a decent option, even if I don't know. But then also, if you do end up eating out, you have a birthday, you go on a cruise, the best thing to do is just get back on track afterwards. Don't let one night out turn into 3 weeks of overeating. That's really going to be getting you going in the wrong direction. And that's where it gets frustrating. People are like, well, this is taking forever, but they're little detours, their little speed bumps, I like to call them, are turning into detours. So you can have a speed bump of like, oh, I had one meal out and I didn't hit my protein goal that day. All right, bump. Next day, you're still, moving forward. Or you're like, oh, I didn't eat out, so now I'm going to eat out for lunch, and then I'm going to go out for drinks, and we're going to do happy hour, and then we're going to have cake, and then I'm going to bake brownies, and you bake brownies, you're going to eat all of them. So that's when you're a detour, you are off track, and so you want to get back on track. And one thing I want to remind you is that staying on track does allow for flexibility. You can have a brownie here or there, but when you are really trying to meet your goals, I would say the cleaner and simpler you can eat with the less alcohol and sugar, the better you're going to feel and the more progress you're going to have. Yes, you have the allowance with macro tracking to pretty much eat anything you want if it fits in those macros, but there are just some things that are better choices and less trigger foods. All right, here's some fast food options. Again, I will share all these slides. So if you are out and about, you're like, oh my gosh, what should I get? I just don't even know where to start. Here's a couple options. Most restaurants now have healthy options, but you have to go for it. You can't be like, sitting at Wendy's. My son will buy this Wendy's burger that is a pretzel bun with like 3 patties and bacon and cheese. This thing is literally like 1,500 calories, I think, just the sandwich. I'm like, Joshua, first of all, it doesn't even look appetizing to me. But what happens after he eats that? He's like, oh gosh, I don't feel good. No kidding. So if you're at Wendy's and you're like, okay, I'm going to have the chili at Wendy's is actually a great choice and delicious. Grab the chili. Don't get the pretzel burger. Side note, restaurant options. Again, I'll share all this. So many different resources. Be prepared ahead of time, and that will help you hit your goals in the long run. I will again share all these links That will be helpful. So any questions, I'm going to check over here on Facebook, see if we have anything that pops up. But again, protein is super important, not just for how you look today, but how you are going to age and how you are going to feel in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. So prioritize it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to do it alone. If you have any questions, please let me know. That is what I'm here for. And if you find that you are struggling to hit your protein, you're like, I can't get it all in. Have a protein shake. I mean, have some collagen coffee. A lot of people make their coffee with their collagen and their protein in, and that's 40 grams off the out of the gate with your coffee. And again, it's putting that to that muscle protein synthesis. It's an easy option to help you meet your goal. So many things that I can help with. Let me know if you need anything. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.